anywhere else in the world, in any one region. So there are so many fantastic animals and plants to be found in South America. And today, we have 3 of them for you. Now, we have animals from all over the continent of South America and even getting up into the Caribbean islands and Mexico, sometimes known as Central America. And they are very diverse, very cool. And as Thomas said, our last animal is quite a treat. I have 2 very special guests for our last animal of the day. But first, as we always like to do, I'm going to start small and we're going to work our way up. And we are going to start off with some creepy crawlies. I personally love creepy crawlies. I don't think they're that creepy. I would like to call them cool crawlies. And who I'm going to introduce you to is one of our oldest animals at the museum. As a matter of fact, I think you might meet our 2 oldest animals at the museum here today. So you guys are in for quite a treat. Now, you might be a little freaked out, but I think she is fantastically cool and, if I might say so, rather beautiful. All right. And she's a little bit small, so we're definitely going to need Thomas to help us out with a close-up camera. Hello, my dear. Everyone say hello to Rosie, our Chilean rose-haired tarantula. Hi. Rosie wants to climb up on my hand here. Hello. All right. So everyone say hello to our Chilean rose hair tarantula. Now, if I remember correctly, I don't believe we've actually met a tarantula yet, which is, I'm glad I'm showing you guys our tarantulas because we are huge fans of tarantulas here at the museum. Now, you might be like, why are you huge fans of tarantulas? I think they're kind of creepy. Now, even though they look a little bit scary, tarantulas are super cool animals, Rosie especially. And so I want to tell you guys a little bit about her. So she is a Chilean rose hair tarantula. The main place you can find these guys is the country of Chile in South America. They can also be found in Bolivia and Argentina. You want to climb up on there and get Thomas a good shot? There we go. And obviously, these guys are much larger than other spiders you might find here in Arkansas. That being said, we do have tarantulas here in Arkansas. We have a few species. One of our most common is the brown tarantula, or I've heard it called chocolate tarantula. It's my personal favorite name. But if you've ever found one of those out in the wild, Rosie here is obviously quite a bit bigger, although she's not even close to the largest tarantula species found in the world. Now, we're going to talk about tarantulas generally, and then I'm going to get into a few more specifics about Rosie. Tarantulas are spiders. They're a little bit different than spiders that we might think of, spiders that hang in webs, the ones you might find in the corners of your room, but they are pretty close relatives. And these guys are really cool, and they have a lot of interesting adaptations that help them survive out in the wild. We talked about animal defenses last week, how animals keep themselves safe, and Rosie not only has adaptations to keep herself safe, she also has adaptations to find her food. Because we talked about food, what animals like to eat. Rosie is a carnivore. She's a predator. She likes to eat other animals. So, as you can tell, Rosie's not particularly fast. She's not going to really be running after her food. And she's also a little bit heavy. Don't tell her I said that. So she is not a spider that's going to hang on her web. That's one of the big differences between tarantulas and other spiders. What Rosie does instead is she finds herself a burrow or a hole to hide in. And she will put down webbing in front of that hole. She does have things that allow her to make webbing, but that webbing is not really to trap the animals that she wants to eat. It's for her to feel when they walk by. Tarantulas are covered in hairs. As you can see, they're very hairy animals, and those hairs help them sense things around them. When a cool breeze goes past you guys can feel the hairs on your arm kind of stand up or on your neck. That's your hairs helping you feel the environment around you, and tarantulas are no exception. So when a delicious cricket or some other type of bug, maybe even a small mouse or a small lizard, runs across that webbing outside of her burrow, she uses those hairs to feel that prey running by. And then she'll leap out and ambush. She'll grab onto that prey when it's not suspecting and bite it with her fangs. She does have big, strong fangs, and she does have venom inside of those fangs, something that she puts into her prey in order to kill it. So when we handle our tarantulas, we do want to be very careful while we're handling them because they do have a venomous bite. However, that venomous bite is made for killing things like crickets, not exactly made for killing humans. So if Rosie were to bite me, which she has never done, it would probably hurt. I'd probably get a red mark and it would feel like a bee sting, but it's not going to do anything crazy to me. And we'll talk a little bit about why I'm so confident handling Rosie in just a minute. But anyway, if she grabs onto that cricket, she'll inject her venom into it, and her venom has some really cool stuff going on inside of it. Not only does it start to kill and paralyze her prey, make it so it can't move, it also has things in it that start digesting the cricket from the inside. Basically, it turns the cricket into soup in a bread bowl, which is really nasty, but also kind of cool. She then has a little straw-like mouth that allows her to suck that juice, suck that soup out of that cricket bread bowl. So not exactly the best table manners, but pretty darn cool. And when she's done, she'll just kind of toss that dried out cricket aside and leave it and look for another meal. Now, tarantulas, I think, are fantastic, but Rosie is kind of in another class of her own. Like I said, we are very comfortable with Rosie. We're very familiar with Rosie because we've had her for a very long time. I want you to think and guess how old Rosie might be. You guys are, let's say, like 6 or something like that. 4. Oh, I went 5, 4 and 5. I went even a little high there. So you might be thinking she's around your age. Maybe she's 10, 15, 12, maybe a little bit higher. Rosie, as a matter of fact, is older than I am. I am 25 years old, which isn't that old, but she is even older than that. Rosie is about 30 years old, and she has been with the museum for most of that time. So Rosie is very used to meeting people, being handled by people, moving around. She goes to schools a lot, and she's gotten very used to our virtual programming. So she is an excellent spider for education. Chilean rosehair tarantulas like her are known as good pets. They're known for being very chill, and Rosie, I think, is particularly chill. So she is definitely one of my absolute favorites to use. One of the really crazy things about tarantulas actually has to do with their age. This is going to be probably one of the weirdest facts I'm going to tell you today. The reason that we know that Rosie is a girl, all right, is because she's still alive. That sounds weird. That doesn't make any sense. Let me tell you something. There's something really strange about Chilean rosehair tarantulas and about other tarantula species. Boy tarantulas only live about 2, 3, maybe 5 years. The girls can obviously live to be 20, 30, possibly 40 years old. We're not really sure because even though these guys are popular as pets, they haven't been kept as pets for that long. So there's not super good research on it. So we're not actually sure how long Rosie's going to go, and she's showing no signs of slowing down. So if you have a pet tarantula and it makes it past its 5th birthday, congratulations, it's a girl. One of the strangest facts that I know about our tarantulas here, but I think it's really, really cool. And I just think she looks super pretty. The reason they call them rose hair tarantulas is because in a certain light, the hairs on their head here kind of take on a pinkish color, and I just think it really adds to it. So one of my absolute favorite animals to talk about here in the museum, and even if you're not a huge fan of tarantulas, I hope you can at least appreciate the really cool, fantastic things that they have going on. So everyone wave and say, bye, Rosie. Bye-bye. This is awesome. I can actually see you guys waving on the TV back there. I love it. All right, we are going to put Rosie away. And Nicole, little spoiler for who our next guest is. Nicole is our friend, our second friend, ready to go. How's she feeling? All right. Our second friend that we have coming out is she's a lot younger than Rosie. And so she's not quite as used to being in front of people and on camera. She does a really good job, but she's still kind of learning how to be comfortable being moved around and transported. So, Nicole, our future guest, and I have been doing a couple little experiments trying to get our next animal, Maddie, comfortable moving around. It seems that she's done a fantastic job today. So, Nicole, if you wouldn't mind bringing Maddie over here. Hello. Our next animal is another creepy crawly. Some of you might be more happy with seeing her, and some of you might be less happy. But I absolutely love this animal. These animals in general, and this one in specific, everyone say hello to Maddie, our red-tailed boa, or just boa constrictor. Another South American native, but can also get up into the Caribbean islands a little bit north of the South America. And our Maddie, our red-tailed boa here, is of course a lovely example of a snake. One of my absolute favorite animals, and an animal that I know some people are actually more afraid of than tarantulas. But I want to tell you why these guys are so cool, specifically Maddie here. Now, snakes, of course, just like our tarantulas, are carnivores. They are predators. And these guys actually have a very similar way of hunting, of getting their food, as our tarantula. Again, as you can see, not a particularly fast animal. A lot of snakes just kind of like to hang out and wait for their food to come by, much like Rosie. And instead of kind of finding a burrow or a place to kind of crawl into, Maddie will usually find a place to kind of hide under and rely on her natural camouflage to help hide her from her prey. She has all these brown and kind of yellowish markings on her back. And not only are those fashionable, they're also functional. They help her blend in with leaves because, of course, these guys are found in forests and rainforests. It also helps them blend in with dirt and rocks. And so even though she doesn't look like we would usually consider camouflage, she doesn't have any sort of camo patterning like we're used to, she blends in perfectly with her natural environment. And once her food comes by, kind of like Rosie, she will strike super quickly and grab onto it with her teeth. Now, unlike Rosie, she is not a venomous animal. She is non-venomous. I don't make a habit of holding many venomous snakes. I do hold one here at the museum, but she is not a venomous animal. So her teeth are really just meant for holding on to her food, not for killing it. The way that she takes her food down is something called constriction. So she is a boa constrictor. It's in the name. And when she grabs onto something, maybe a rat or other mammal, perhaps a lizard, potentially a bird, although those are hard to catch, she is going to wrap around that food and give it a squeeze. Constrictor snakes give the best hugs. They're hugs that are so good they might kill you. So she will just continue to squeeze and squeeze and squeeze and squeeze her food with her powerful body. It's just a ton of really strong muscles all throughout her body. And eventually that prey is going to die. And then she is going to swallow her food whole. Again, terrible table guest. She doesn't cut up or chew up her food at all. She's just going to swallow it whole. Now, she has a very special mouth to be able to do that. When we open up our mouths, everybody open your mouth as wide as you possibly can. I know you can't see it because it's behind the mask. Just ate my mask a little bit. You guys can open your mouths pretty wide, but nothing compared to Maddie, our boa constrictor. She has very special muscles and very special bones that allow her to kind of unhook her jaw and expand it out so that she can swallow things that are way bigger than her head, because she's got a tiny little head here, but she can swallow gigantic things relative to her size. If you guys could do the same thing that snakes could do, you guys could probably swallow a watermelon whole. which sounds really crazy and probably not the best way to eat a watermelon because how would you get all the delicious stuff inside? But if you had the same ability as Maddie, that's about what you can do. So I'm kind of glad that we eat the food the way that we do, but it works for our boa constrictors. Now, Maddie in particular, as I said, has not been with us for nearly as long as Rosie. Maddie is only about a year and a half old, maybe coming up on 2 years. Now, kind of like tarantulas, snakes are generally fairly long lived. Boa constrictors like Maddie can be anywhere from 20 to 30 years old. And here's the thing. Maddie right now is a fairly small snake. However, once she gets full grown, which will happen sooner rather than later, she could potentially be over 10 feet long. To give you an idea, I am almost 6 feet tall. So up to our ceiling and higher, about as long as a basketball hoop. That's about as long as Maddie could potentially be by the time she is full grown. So she's got a lot of growing to do, and in the future we might have a very large snake. So of course we're going to have to be prepared for that. Our last guest that I'm going to bring on, Nicole, she actually just moved Maddie to a new home here at the museum that gives her more space to move around because, of course, as Maddie grows, we have to grow with her. Now, I think that snakes are one of the coolest animals that we have here in the museum and on Earth. And South America, and especially the Amazon rainforest, has no shortage of snakes. As a matter of fact, the Amazon rainforest is home to the arguably the largest snake on Earth. Anacondas can be found in South America in the Amazon rainforest. And although the title for longest snake usually goes to the reticulated python, anacondas are sometimes known as the largest snakes because even though they're not quite as long as reticulated pythons, they can be incredibly long, maybe almost 20 feet in some instances, and they are incredibly thick and heavy. So Maddie, even though she could potentially be almost 10 feet long, is not even close to as big as we can get, even on her home continent. So I'm sure that most of you guys would never want to meet an anaconda in the wild, but they are really cool creatures, and I'm glad that we have Maddie here as a nice little representative for our South American snakes. So everyone say bye, Maddie. We might see her while we're taking questions, although I wouldn't put it past our last guest to hog all the spotlight because that's just what he does. So I'm going to put Maddie on the side here. She seems to be enjoying hanging out on our little branch here. And I promised you guys that for our last animal, I have two very special guests. I already talked to one of them during our program, our human guest, Nicole, our animal expert and keeper. And our animal guest, our last animal guest, is one of our most literally and figuratively colorful animals here at the museum. Now, because I want Nicole to talk a little bit about my friend here with me, we are going to actually switch microphones. So we're going to give Thomas and Shannon just a minute or so to make sure that our sound is very good. And, and we'll let our friend here show off to you guys. So this right here is our Amazon parrot, specifically a lilac crested parrot. Lilac crested parrot, Amazon parrot, and his name is Eli. Now, as Thomas said earlier, not a lot of people get to meet Eli, and there's a reason for that. Eli is very choosy about who he likes. For example, Eli doesn't like me, which might be why he just flew away a little bit. He is a huge fan of Nicole, not so much a fan of me or just about anyone else at the museum. So he can really only come out and meet people when Nicole's available to take him out. But since we're doing a virtual program, we're very excited to bring him to you. He's just so pretty on camera. All right, we're just give a second more to set up the mic there. Now, Amazon parrots, like Eli, can be found all across South America and even up north into the Caribbean islands and even to Mexico. There are a lot of different types of Amazon parrots. Like I said, Eli is a crested Amazon parrot, or lilac crested. And I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about parrots in general, and then I'm going to have a little conversation with Nicole about Eli specifically, because parrots are really cool, fantastically weird animals, and Eli has his own personal story that's very interesting. So, parrots are incredibly intelligent animals. Eli here, people say that some parrots have the intelligence of about a 2 or 3 year old, maybe a like toddler age. And so they are incredibly smart, similar to dogs and cats and pigs. They are able to communicate with each other. Obviously, Eli's making a lot of little chattering noises right now. Amazon parrots can be known for mimicking sounds and even words of their, if they are owned by people as pets. Eli, in particular, doesn't really know any words, but he loves to make sounds and scream, which you'll probably hear at some point during our presentation. Now, in the wild, Eli here is our only animal today who is not a carnivore. As a matter of fact, he's an herbivore. He loves to eat fruits and seeds and nuts. And to eat those things, he has an incredibly strong and thick beak, which I'm sure you guys will be able to see on the camera. Or unless he turns it away from you. They're also very difficult sometimes. I'm sure Nicole will talk more about that. So that really strong, thick beak is made for cracking nuts and seeds. And because of that, pet parrots can be a little bit destructive. They really like to chew on things. They really like to pull things and break things and rip things. Their way of interacting with the world is with their beak. They don't have hands, so they need to use that beak to mess around with things, interact with the world around them, and because of that, they like to break things. Of course, living in the Amazon rainforest and in other forests in South America, these guys are perfectly blended in with their lovely green feathers. They blend in with the leaves and things around them. And those other colors that he has, that lovely lilac crest, that red, maybe some little oranges and blues under his wings, could probably be he could probably have those for a variety of reasons. Perhaps for attracting lady Amazon parrots. Maybe if he's threatened by a predator, he could suddenly show off those bright colors and hopefully scare them away. But of course, the way that I would assume he would deal with most of his predators is by being incredibly loud. And I think that's a good segue for Nicole. Everyone say hello, Nicole. Nicole is our animal keeper and animal expert here at the museum. She takes care of all of our animals. How many animals do we have about?
Oh, we have about 60 animals that range over 42, 43 species.
So every day, Nicole is responsible for the care, feeding, and cleaning of 60 animals. And I bet you that there is none that are as high maintenance as Eli here.
As
Nicole,
Eli.
we talked a little bit about Amazon parrots and parrots generally. Would you like to tell us a little bit specifically about Eli, where he came from, the things that he likes, the things that he doesn't like, and as I said, of course, his main feature, the amount of sound that he makes.
So yeah, Mr. Eli has been here for a very long time. He's been here for about 25 years. And you wouldn't know it to look at him, but he is even older than Miss Rosie the tarantula.
I believe he's our oldest animal at the
He
museum?
is. He is 47 years old.
My goodness.
It's like, so he is older than the both of us combined.
Yeah.
And since he is the age he is, he doesn't like learning new things at all, ever. So teaching him how to speak is not really an option. He prefers to scream and he likes to whistle. And if he really can't get your attention with those things, he has a little bell in his cage that is his favorite way to attract attention. He will ring it and ring it and ring it until you come give him what he wants. And since Mr. Eli has been here for such a long time, he has grown attached to very specific people. He likes me. He likes the other animal staff. He likes girls way more than he likes boys. And anybody else that tries to come in his space is immediately rejected. They're not allowed in his home. Birds can be very territorial. And Mr. Eli is very territorial. He's territorial of his people, of his space, of his toys.
Keep going. Just come on to this side. That way he'll face us. There we go.
There we go.
Have you been looking at me this whole time?
Yes.
You wanted to face Nicole.
For the most part, his favorite things are things that are yellow. He's very attracted to specific colors. So he likes yellow things and red things the best. He has a favorite set of cups that he likes to have built for him so he can destroy them and knock them over. He likes banging things on his cage to make noise. He likes little puzzle feeders that you put little treats in, and he will try and figure out how to get them out. Since he is so intelligent, he has to have a lot of different things to play with to kind of exercise his brain, or else he gets really bored. And bored parrots are destructive parrots. So if you don't give them lots of stuff to do and lots of attention, they like to scream and destroy things that they know they're not supposed to, and just be generally bad.
One of
parrots.
I've worked with I worked with a few parrots, and one of the things that people always want to know is, of course, how smart they are and what can they do and what can they say. And I do have people, asking me, do parrots make good pets? Now, like I said, they're very smart, about on the level of a toddler, second or third grader, a little bit younger than you guys. Except you guys eventually grow up. You guys grow up into adults. Humans grow up into adults. They learn things. They learn manners. They learn new stuff. Parrots stay as about 2 or 3-year-olds their entire life. And so I'm sure your teachers are just cringing thinking about having a 2 or 3-year-old in their house for their entire life.
Yeah.
So even though they are very smart, it is very difficult to keep Eli as a pet or other parrots like him. As a matter of fact, I think he has a little bit of history in the pet sphere. Am I correct with that?
He actually does, yes. Before he came to us, he spent about 20 years in a pet store. And he was there with another bird. He was caged together with an, what was that? It was a African gray. That's what it was.
Boy.
He was caged with an African gray who was a lot more talkative than him and got all the treats. So Eli didn't learn how to fly. He didn't learn how to speak because the other bird wanted all that attention. So Eli didn't get any. And when that pet store closed down, they donated Eli to us, and he's been here for about 25 years.
So we're very happy that we have Eli and we get to take care of him, even though he can be difficult, even though he can be a handful. We do like that we can give him a nice home and some love here, even though he only wants it from one specific person. So thank you guys so much for joining me to talk about South American and a little bit of Central American animals. I really enjoyed showing you guys Rosie and Maddie and Eli. And Eli, myself, and Nicole are actually going to continue to hang out here for just a few more minutes because, like before, we want to see if you guys have any questions about any of our animals. You guys probably want to know questions about Eli that I won't be able to answer, and that's why we're going to keep Nicole up here because if I don't have the answer, I'm sure she does. So thank you guys so much. We are so happy that Anita Davis sponsored all of these programs, and I'm sad that this is the last one we're doing for this series, but I'm sure this isn't going to be the last that we see of you guys or that you see of us. So I'm very excited for these questions. Eli is very excited for these questions. He might be so excited, he might scream. I don't know. We're going to see. So we're going to let Thomas facilitate those questions, and thank you guys so much once again. Looking forward to it.
Wow, let's give Nicole and Steven a big round of applause. How fun is that? Now, I don't know about you guys, but I had an absolutely wonderful time. What we're going to do is I'm going to get you guys seeing. So this is me. I'm Thomas. I'm going to answer some questions for you guys, or help facilitate some questions for you guys. So if we could have the teachers go around and gather the questions from the students and then come up to the microphone and let us know the first question.
How does he eat? She said, how does he eat?
So how does Eli eat?
That is a great question. So that beak is really going to be the main driver of how he's going to eat. Even though he's a small parrot compared to some other parrots, that beak is incredibly powerful. It is able to crack through nuts and seeds. He loves peanuts. What's his favorite nut?
His favorite is almonds.
He loves almonds. He can crack through that thick shell with ease. And if he were to bite somebody, which he's done before, it can leave a pretty nasty mark. I've worked with other parrots, bigger parrots that have such strong beaks, they can definitely break your finger. So that beak is made to crack and crunch things. And he can either just directly grab onto stuff with that beak, or he has these lovely fancy little feet that Thomas got some close-up looks on. Now, parrot feet look a little bit different, look a little bit weird. Their toes, they have a couple that point forward and a couple that point back, and that's because these guys stand on branches. So those feet allow them to stand and hold on to those branches, and it also helps them hold on to their food. So he might just grab onto something and with his beak and work on it, or he might hold onto it with those toes and crunch on it with his beak. So it's very fun watching a parrot eat. I don't know if I don't think he'd do it on camera just because he's not super used to it, but maybe in the future when we get him more used to being on camera, we can get him to do it. Great questions.
Wonderful first question. What's our second one?
Someone said, does he scratch?
Oh, yes. Those little nails on those toes are not super sharp, but they do give him a good grip, and he likes to move around and walk around a lot. So he's not gonna like scratch like a cat, but whenever you hold a parrot, you always have little scratches all over your arm when you're done.
Yeah, he'll also use his little feet to scratch his little head. So as you've been watching him, you've probably seen him scratching his forehead to get all the itches away. Yeah, just like that.
Parrots are very pretty animals, and they do a lot of work to stay pretty. Parrots are constantly what we call preening themselves or grooming themselves. They'll get stuff out of their feathers with their beak. They'll scratch themselves with their toes. They'll move their feathers back into place if they get ruffled. They are always keeping and maintaining themselves and making themselves look very pretty. Isn't that right?
Boy, these are some great questions. Y'all are really thinking about what you guys saw and heard today. That's fantastic. What's our next question?
Oh, does he? I had a friend that asked, how does he fly?
Now, Eli in particular doesn't fly. As Nicole said in her story, he never really learned how to. And so it's not just a simple matter of us saying, all right, Eli, go ahead and fly. He hasn't developed the muscles to do that during his life. It would be like if, you hadn't run your whole life and then someone said, go run a marathon. You're not going to do very well. Kind of similar with Eli. So Eli can't fly, but other parrots, they have those muscles developed. They have very strong wings. And so kind of like other birds, they'll just flap and kind of go crazy, and they'll take off.
What Eli likes to do is he will climb. So he can climb up and down his cage. He likes walking around on the floor. He can jump onto things and off of things, but flying he's not very good at.
He's good at falling.
He is very good at falling very gracefully.
Good question.
These are so fantastic. Do we have any other questions?
Hi. I feel like I tried to compete with your colors today.
Right.
Got my rainbow mask, got my green headband. Any other
They're
questions?
saying he's cute.
He is. I know. It's hard to think about anything else. He is very cute. Eli is well known to all of our staff and to any of the guests that meet him.
So what is his really loud sound? Does it sound like a scream? Is that what you said?
Go
It
ahead.
sounds like a car alarm is what it sounds like. So he can be very, very loud. And the reason parrots are typically very loud animals is because they use that sound to alert each other when there's danger around. So there are some parrots you can hear for miles, and it feels like Eli is one of them.
I would agree with that. I can hear him through 3 walls.
There are certain parrots where their scream is like on the level of an airplane engine. It is incredibly loud. Earplugs recommended if you're near them. I kind of wanted to see if he would scream and just blow out our microphone, but I'm kind of glad that he didn't.
Like, he's being very good.
Well, and one thing that I really like is having that area mic right there. We can hear every little chirp and chatter he's saying, so it
nice.
sounds really cool.
Yay!
All right, any last questions? I know, it's just hard to take your eyes off Eli. It's giving you a really good grooming show there.
Well, I say let's give Steven, Nicole, and Eli one last round of applause. Good job. Good
Good job,
job.
buddy. Good job.
Thank you all so much for joining us. It means so much to us that you join us virtually and that we get to show off some of our amazing animals here at the Museum of Discovery. We certainly hope that this series can continue. And once again, thank you to Anita Davis for helping make this possible. We really enjoy connecting with you guys and hope to do so again sometime in the future. Thanks, y'all, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, guys. Look forward to seeing you again.
Yeah.
Eli says goodbye.
Bye.